Today's big topic is surfaces. We make a ton of surfaces here at ROI. I think you guys have seen them. So to start with, we're going to start with the big one, our most popular seller, the Catapult series. Inch and an eighth will be your surface thickness. Every surface will be vinyl on all sides. If in these cases, if it's in your office or your workstation, it's going to come standard with one grommet. And then you'll notice here on your drawings, it's always going to show the grain direction. So you know which way the grains are running. You're going to want to keep your grains running the same direction. There is restrictions with board sizes and stuff, but the designer typically notes that on the drawing that there could be something funky going on with your grains. When we're pricing out Catapult series, it's always $15 a square foot. We take, to do that formula, if you ever want to give a client that price, you can always do this little formula that we have here. It's the width times the depth divided by 144 times 15 or times 19, because 19 is the lead series. Yes?
Sorry. Are we, for surfaces above 60, do we need to start adding in the spanners, or are we getting away from that?
No, we do. It depends on what the support's going on underneath.
Okay.
That's a good question. The maximum width, the board size that we get with Catapult is 5x8. So that's the biggest surface you're ever going to get from a Catapult surface. If you want something larger than that, it's going to come with a seam. With Elite series, this is Elite. Thousands and thousands of options. You guys have seen the hallway of overwhelmness, scary, but there are so many choices to choose from. With Elite, we get this product here, and it's laid up onto boards, or we buy it pre-laid up. So you'll see it's not double-sided. With Catapult, sometimes we luck out if the scratch arrives, we can kind of flip it, if it's the same size. So sometimes you have the benefit of that. You don't have the benefit with Elite. Elite, you have the benefit of multiple edges, you can curve it, and you just have thousands of finish opportunities. Catapult, we buy 15 stock colors. So if it's not in stock, we would have to buy it in bulk. So it's a big bulk we have to buy, and it takes like 6 to 8 weeks to get here. So that's why we don't offer more finishes in Catapult. We kind of keep it contained because we keep it stocked here. Elite series kind of goes unlimited. I kind of tell people to be safe. It could be up to 12 weeks with certain Elite finishes, depending on what you pick. So just kind of be aware with Elite, you have a lot of choices with your edges, you have a lot of choices with your finishes, but you also comes with more money, longer lead times. It's just a good thing to remember when you go that direction. But again, it's used all the time, so don't. And with Elite too, you also have the opportunity to go much bigger with your table sizes. But as we found in recent orders, you have to know the space you're putting the table in. So if you say you have a 12-foot table, we have to be able to get it into the space. It might fit in the room, but it might not fit into the elevator to get it up the 13 flights. So there has to be a thought. We have to think about that a little bit more when we start doing anything beyond 8 feet. As far as when you're selling an office, your designer is going to ask you, when you say, I want a U-shape office, I want an L-shape office, they're always going to go to, what do you want? What's your main surface? Do you want it to be straight? Do you want it to be a bullet, which is this one? Keystone, which is a lot like Colleen's office, or a P-top. So it's always good to know those kind of parameters when you're presenting to the designer, or even with your client at the beginning, just so that we start right away with the right concept. When we're talking about the different surfaces, we're referring to that one as the main surface. We're calling this one the bridge because it's bridging the credenza and the main surface. And the back one's always called the credenza. And then in an L-shaped situation, we're calling this one the return. And in this situation, you're sitting inside the desk, it's on my left hand, so I'm calling that a left hand return. And that's the left hand return too as well. It's when you're sitting in it. And then you can kind of see how all of these grain directions are all flowing the same way. You wouldn't want this one to be going that way. Cool? Tabletops. Again, keep in mind, because we are custom, you can create any shape you want. So that's with office tops, and this is with also tabletops. These are just what we call our standards. So if somebody wants some kind of weird octagonal one, by all means, we can give it a try, and we've done it before. But just kind of keep it in mind that these are the most popular. Again, they run the same price. And then you can also have the elite edges, our self-edge, quarter round, and regular table, even though I should update this because we're slowly phasing out the quarter round, I apologize. And with conference tabletops, sometimes people love to do built up. So you can make it double the thickness. So that's always an option. It's typically self-edge, and it's basically just two boards put together. The center one is kind of hollowed out, but you'll around the whole perimeter of the table is a thick piece that we edge in, just to give it a little more of an executive look. Now with conference tables, we've kind of touched base on this in recent meetings. It's the joiner situation. So these are joiners. Some people call them dog bones, but it's only available with elite. And you have to call it out to your designer. This has to be a conversation that you have with your designer. If you're doing a conference table in two pieces and it's elite, you need to talk about, do you want it to look like this, where the seam kind of disappears, and the vinyl will still look like that, or just like every catapult table we make, it'll be two surfaces, vinyl to vinyl on top of each other. So it's important to note, it's a little bit of a more noticeable seam, but we just have to know ahead of time because those notes on your drawing are indicators for production to make it that way. If it goes through the whole process and those aren't on there, it's not going to come with that. It's not going to come with joiners, and it's going to be vinyl to vinyl automatically. And the only other option we would use with joiners is if we were doing casework product, so a break room, especially with sinks, and it always has to be a lead product. So if you're doing a sink, you're going to have a lead anyways. So I would always recommend, if you're doing a break room and it has elite surfaces, I would just automatically put joiners in. There's no question, it's a better way to do it. It keeps the surface aligned and it keeps it from shifting all around and it keeps it really flush together. So it's just a better way to install it. So my recommendation for sure with casework, you always have to do the joiners. Table, that's totally your preference on how you want to handle it. Just a quirky, I threw this one in. This is more of a design concern. But when we're putting file tops together, we do always require certain overhangs on everything. We don't want to make it so perfect. There's always that chance that things could shift and, it doesn't work out. So our typical overhangs are 1/4 inch on each side. If we were doing a run like this, where it had to be 3 file tops in this situation, that's a situation right there where we would make that top the exact size of these. Because then you want all of those seams to line up perfectly. But then this guy and this guy would still overhang by 1/4 inch. So it's a little kooky, but it's one of those things we learned over the course of time when we're installing all these long file banks. You learn over the course of time that gradually the seams start shifting off of the files below. So then we started to realize, okay, when we do those situations, we really have to be cautious of that one in the center. But mostly all your credenzas and everything are always going to have some kind of overhang. So if you tell me you want a 72-inch wide credenza, I'm more than likely going to make it 72.5. So you're going to see the 2 cabinets below are going to be 36, and then I'm just going to make the top with an overhang. And your tops are going to have the same, like the overhang as well. Go to our next handy sheet, which is a page in the very back. Which we recently created this page, and I felt like every day in design we were constantly asking, how much is this per square foot? How much of this? So we have all these different materials, and they all have different square foot pricing. So we can just kind of review this. If you go to the first one, we're at Catapult Series, and it's at $15 a square foot. Elite Series, we do charge $19 a square foot for Wilson Art, Formica, Nevermar, and Pionite. Now those are standards to the industry. You hear those names all the time. The link below, it mentions names like Bella Laminate, ARPA, Laminart, and Arborite. Those are big red signs, alarms, that's going to be a very expensive laminate. If you see those names, those are the ones you need to be prepared for longer lead times. And we just price one out regularly. Typically we get our laminate for like $1 something a square foot. We priced one out the other day and it was around $8. So that's a big increase. So you just have to keep that in mind when you're pulling those off of those boards along down the hallway. Those are going to be markers for, we need to get this, go through special pricing, we need to call and check, because they all range. We can't even pull one off. Like, everyone isn't the same price. So we really have to be cautious on what we're getting there. And like the ARPA ones, those come from Europe. So we need to be cautious of the lead time and everything when we're pulling those. So like I would just say, I feel like we should put a sign when you go into that hallway, we should be like, proceed with caution. Because it's dangerous. Whiteboard. So we have whiteboard, and we have magnetic whiteboard. You do have to let your designer know which one you want, because regular whiteboard is $21 a square foot, and magnetic whiteboard is $35 a square foot. So that's, if you're doing surfaces, more than likely your client doesn't need it to be magnetized. If you're doing it on little wardrobe cabinets and stuff, that's where they're going to want to see it magnetized. And just a friendly reminder, marker board is not color through or a solid core. Marker board is not available that way. So when you see Melissa's office and you see that, how she writes on it, that's not marker board. She's just writing on high gloss laminate. So over time, if she were to leave something there, it would do something like that we call ghosting. So this film or hue of like pink, blue, or whatever color they're using will kind of just stain it. And actually with just regular marker board laminate, that's going to happen over years too. The way to get a perfect, it's the glass white marker boards tend to never give you any problems with ghosting or anything like that. But talking about color through and color, there's solid core and color core and solid core. They're both the same thing, they just come from different manufacturers. So I had the boys make me these wonderful samples, because I always feel like people are like, what's the difference? I had them make me these waterfall samples. So you'll see this one's kind of all white all the way through. That's color core laminate. The laminate is all the way through. It doesn't show this brown line that you would get with regular laminate. So it gives it that more seamless of a look. And you're welcome, these samples are going to be on my desk, so please grab them anytime you have a client. Because some clients are really particular about the whiteboard. And I always say, that's great, but do you know that this is going to come? Because I do feel like it kind of cheapens the look of the waterfall. You'll see on that one, it's all the color through. But I think those are just one of those things that's important to call out when you're doing this particular type of table. You need to let them know about the finish they're selecting. You can do this table in a dark laminate, and it'll be fine. But the minute you go to a light laminate, you really need to think about the edge and what it's going to look like. The next popular one that's popping up all over the place is a traceless laminate. It's beautiful, it doesn't show fingerprints, and it is expensive. So it isn't, like the lead time and stuff isn't a problem, but keep in mind, you need to let us know when you're doing a lead. This doesn't fall, like your designer can't just change it to a lead pricing. This involves a whole nother markup, because this is, I'm thinking $35 a square foot. So it does, you guys have seen it in the back, it is beautiful, and it's probably going to be showing up a lot more, but just keep in mind, there is a hefty price tag attached to it as well. And the vinyl doesn't match. So if you're doing, it's okay in a situation like this, but if you want your surface in this material, just know that the vinyl you put on it is not going to have the same traceless finish to it. It's going to be a different material, it's going to might have a sheen to it and a different look. So that's just something we have to think about every time we spec it out, what color vinyl we're gonna put on the edge. Because any of your catapult surfaces, you can put any color edge on it. A lot of people, the VID girls love to do white with the like the plywood looking edge, I think the bamboo edge. So keep it in mind, you can mix and match those. It's just very customary that we do the one to match. If you find yourself in a lab situation, you can have any of the laminates in Wilson Art, Nevermar, they can apply something they call a chemical resistant laminate. And that's just more of a protective surface that some kind of thing they apply to the surface just to protect it from all those chemicals and anything else that you'll find in a lab. Again, we're charging $35 a square foot, and that does have a much longer lead time. So it for sure is eight weeks because that has to get prepped. But it is pretty unlimited. If you go to the Wilson Art Surf online, they kind of show you what's available, but they do have a big selection of the chemical resistant on there. We have.
I have a quick introduction.
Yes.
About that. I was doing a job where they wanted like, chemical resistance and like a waterfall, so I needed a solid core. They cannot do the chemical resistant, not solid core.
Yeah, I would guess that. Yeah, that's not. Probably if you said, it's always one good thing, like, are you working on that? Because I've been on their case, I'm like, are you working towards solid core for whiteboard? Because it seems to be something we keep getting asked. So it's a good thing to always ask. Otherwise, too, in a lab situation, your best product is going to be a quartz or a Corian or something like that. It's always better to go those routes. Corian's probably the best. There's chalkboard laminate, just to keep that in mind. And then there's also, we have to be kind of specific too when we're talking metal laminates, because we have a popular metal-like laminate that we use all the time called satin stainless. But it's not actually metal. It's just something that we use a lot of. These are actual laminates that are metal. So, it'll be applied to a backer. So a lot of times there's a confusion on people just say satin stainless. So we're always like, are you referring to the metal look-alike one, or are you referring to actual metal that you want? So it's always a good thing to keep in mind. This is gonna scratch and still it. So the minute you put it on a surface, it's not recommended, and we'll write that all over your drawing. It will scratch anytime you use it. So again, you run into edge details, but it's always an option. A lot of times we'll put it on the front of modesties and stuff like that, where it's not as fragile. But some people are pretty insistent on their surfaces, so we'll just always make a note like, just be careful, it will scratch over time. It's not covered under warranty if you use it that way, and you just kind of have to roll with it. Laminate, slat wall. If you ever get somebody that's in the need of slat wall, our vendors do provide this at NET. We usually have a lot of the Wilson Art colors are offered in the slat wall as well. So that's again something we have to research online to see what finishes, but you have a big selection of it. And the slat wall is $21 a square foot. Keep in mind you have to figure out the edges too. There's a lot of thought that has to go into these when we're doing all that kind of stuff.
Can I ask, is that decorative or do you hang stuff from that? What's the purpose of that?
You can do it for like displays, for like fixtures and stuff for stores.
Okay.
So we've used it in the past where we've done like a open hutch bookcase and we put this in the back. And then you buy those hooks that kind of latch into here, and then you can buy different baskets and stuff that kind of hang on. Plexi in stock, we keep clear and frosted. And $30 a square foot, but we do have chains where you can order a lot of different colors. So keep an open mind. People say, do you offer it in blue? Yes. Smoky? Yes. We just have to know, and the designers will spec that for you. And then I think the rest of this has nothing. Knife edge we've kind of done before because that's $40 a square foot. Still new to ROI, still in experimental phases. But we are giving a low square footage price, but we are still working on finishing the bottom. So we're working through it stage by stage. Hopefully next week we'll have a solution for finishing the bottom. And the middle pencil stop surface, for drafting ledges and all that good stuff, that's $40 a square foot. Any questions? It's a lot.
You can have different heights This is the one that is not really
Yeah,
straight
mine's
or
the
floating. There are
first-
some others that are.
We'll call mine generation 1. Now it comes deeper.
What's a Barney wall?
Barney wall is not really a surface. Barney wall is what you see in ROI at that angle wall underneath the staircase. It's different thicknesses of catapult, basically, or really applied to a wall, like a pattern. Any other questions? That's really easy. Okay, done. Thank you guys. I have your kudos coins.